Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Dasa Acharya 730pm Yasodanandana Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai Vrindavan Dham ki jai Navadvip Dham ki jai Swamaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, Yasodanandana Prabhu.
Hare
This
Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
basis, Jai Prabhupada, very thank you to you that you are speaking to us today. We are very fortunate. Thank you. And all of us are sitting here and now want to hear your nectar. Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes, who has opened all of our eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaj, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name Bhaktivedanta. Adadana Strinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa Goswami birth after birth. This particular verse was composed by Raghunath Das Goswami in his Mukta Charita. Adadana Strinandanteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Prabhupada Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani. Is a slight variation from the same verse. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, birth after birth. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataha. This is a Sanskrit verse from a great Acharya of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya named Vedanta Deshika. He is the author of the Mayavada Shatadushani, refutation of 108 defects of the Mayavada philosophy. In his praise of Yamunacharya, of his Shrotaratna Bhashya, he explains that worship of the Supreme Lord is very sweet naturally, just like milk is naturally very sweet, but it becomes even sweeter by adding a little sugar. So similarly, worship of the Supreme Lord becomes even sweeter by first offering respectful obeisances unto the bona fide spiritual master. Tvam na sandarshitu dhatra dushtaram nishtitir shatam kalim sattvaharam pumsam karnadharayi varnavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship, for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of human being. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:122. Before I begin reading a few of the points I had prepared, I think it would be appropriate to give proper tribute and respects to many devotees that have been preaching this message of Srila Prabhupada. And I want to thank the organizers of this program and this Prabhupadanuga program, Mathurapati Prabhu, and our good friend from Turkey, Balaram Prabhu. And there are many others. I just want to mention a few names. One is Mahatma Das, with his relentless service to Srila Prabhupada and his excellent service attitude. Another one is Krishna Kishore Das in Mexico and his good wife, Girivari Devi Dasi. They're doing a wonderful program in Mexico with Samkirtan, Varnashram development, publishing, going chanting in the streets, prasad distribution. Very nice service. Another devotee, Aprakrita Prabhu in Montreal, who's doing wonderful preaching for many, not years, decades, of chanting in the streets. He has a website both in French and English, doing a lot of very positive preaching. Next is Vishwakarma Prabhu in Hamilton, Ontario, who's been running a very nice Prabhupada-focused ashram, who is also the host of the Prabhupada Disciples Association classes on Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday, doing a lot of very positive preaching. And Damagosh Prabhu in Washington State, who does a lot of very nice Varnashram preaching, wonderful deity worship, unsurpassable first-class deity worship, and who's been sending wonderful nectar of Srila Prabhupada for many, many years. He's done a tremendous service. Another one is Narasimha Prabhu in Northeast California, way at the border of Oregon and Nevada, who has a Varnashram project, doing a lot of focused preaching there and also in Hawaii. Then there's Navadvip Prabhu in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, who for many years was holding a Bhagavad Gita class on Saturday morning. Very exemplary family, very nice deity worship, very good preaching, both in Vancouver and in the Philippines. We have Swarat Prabhu in Malaysia. Yesterday, he was giving a very nice presentation of Krishna consciousness. I was listening, very inspiring, very nice preaching in Malaysia, Singapore. Then there's Hanuman Prabhu in New Zealand, who's been for many years preaching Krishna consciousness there, focusing and promoting Srila Prabhupada. And Nimai Pandit Prabhu in New York, who has been a fearless proponent of Srila Prabhupada, defender of Srila Prabhupada's legacy, who has a very nice Varnashram project in New Pas, New York. And he is also engaged in various ventures, both on a legal front, to reestablish Prabhupada's position. Very important service. Then we have Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Andabayu Prabhu in North Carolina at Prabhupada Village, also doing very nice service there. Kamsahanta Prabhu in England, very, very staunch defender of Srila Prabhupada. We have Nandikeshwar Prabhu and his good wife and his stepson, Ramananda Roy. Very nice preaching they have done for many years. We have Madhu Pandit and Chanchala Pati Prabhu and the wonderful devotees of ISKCON Bangalore, who have been very, very strong in advocating the bona fide system of Srila Prabhupada preaching, as well as the bona fide system of initiation for Srila Prabhupada. Just want to mention also devotees there's a devotee in Florida, I can't remember his name, he calls himself Aspiring Servant. He came to one of our classes recently. He has a piece of property near the border of Georgia and Florida, near Tallahassee. He's doing very nice preaching, trying to start a Varnashram project. I believe he said he was going to your program there in Germany. Very nice program. Puranjan Prabhu, fearless defender of Srila Prabhupada, preaching for many years to reestablish Srila Prabhupada, and Maheshwar Prabhu, Mahesh Raja in England, who did a tremendous service by sending so many articles defending Srila Prabhupada's position, very exemplary. Ishan Prabhu in New Mexico gave a very nice talk yesterday, presenting the essential behavior of a devotee of a Brahmana, explaining very nicely Prabhupada's teachings. Again, Padmagarbha Prabhu in Washington State, also a Varnashram project there in northern or southern Washington State, very important devotee. Venkat Bhatta Prabhu in Bangalore, India, who has facilitated our programs, who is engaged in preaching, distributing books, arranging for the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association program. And I'm sure there are many others that I respectfully beg the forgiveness of anybody I've forgiven. And we offer our respectful obeisances to all these devotees, these very strong advocates for Srila Prabhupada. I just want to bring up a couple of points. I'm not going to go into too much details of my personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada. But suffice to say, I first saw Prabhupada. I'm just going to briefly describe one or 2 points. I first physically saw Prabhupada in 1967 in Montreal, Canada, in the summer. I believe I was 16 or 17 at the time. My parents had gone to Montreal, to the Montreal International Exposition. And the country of India had a pavilion, and there was a kirtan going there. Very blissful kirtan. Srila Prabhupada was leading the kirtan with several devotees with him on the stage. So I stopped there for a little bit, and during that kirtan, by Krishna's mercy and Prabhupada's kindness, he glanced through the crowd, and he happened to look at me for just a fraction of a second, very brief second. And I felt very, very surcharged with inspiration. So the next week, when I went back to Quebec City, where I was residing with my parents, there was an article in the local paper. Every week they would put out different articles about social events, social personalities. It was that same meeting in Montreal with a picture of Srila Prabhupada, a big picture in color. So I took that picture and put it on my wall. Because I had different pictures on my wall, I would practice yoga. And I remembered that glance that Prabhupada gave me. That glance from Prabhupada was like, oh, you've come to the right place. Just hear this beautiful sound vibration. So I put that picture of Srila Prabhupada on the wall. And every day when I practiced yoga, I would offer some incense. And I had different pictures from India, the universal form, a picture of Mahatma. I even had a picture of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I had no idea who he was. A picture of him dancing with long hair. I thought he looked really nice, and I didn't know who he was. And the different pictures from India, Lord Vishnu, like that. So 2 years later, fast forward, one devotee from Montreal came to Quebec City in front of a place called Chateau Frontenac, which is a big castle in the city, and there's a park in the front. And this person had long hair and big long robes, and he was chanting Hare Krishna. And he gathered about 50 or 60 people around him, chanting with him. So I was there, I chanted with him, and after that, he distributed a little prasadam to everybody, some fruits. And then I went and spoke with him. So he was explaining me the meaning of the mantra. And I asked him, how did you learn this? He says, oh, I met the Swamiji in Montreal. The Swamiji, he was referring to Srila Prabhupada. In 1969, Srila Prabhupada was still known by the term Swamiji. And we were just starting at that time, the devotees were starting to address Swamiji as Srila Prabhupada. So he explained to me the meaning of the mantra and explained that he met Prabhupada for about 3 minutes. And Prabhupada told him, whoever you meet, tell them to chant Hare Krishna. You read from Bhagavad Gita and give him a little bit of prasadam offered to Krishna. As simple as that. And this person was going everywhere doing that. So he said, you should go see the Swamiji. Go to Montreal, see the Swami. So that summer, after school, I just went to Montreal and went to the temple on Park Avenue and wanted to see the Swamiji. And they told me the Swamiji is not here, he's gone to Europe. But you can come for kirtan. So that night, I was staying in some other place. That night I went for kirtan. So that was the first experience I had the kirtan. And they had this massive poster of Srila Prabhupada on the left side of the temple. It was a picture of Prabhupada's face with big tilak, very serious look, but it looked so transcendental. And that reminded me of that kirtan that took place 2 years earlier. So that was my first connection with Srila Prabhupada. After the kirtan that night, first night, I asked them if they had a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. They say, yeah. So I've got a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, and I told them I'd like to wear a dhoti, because I had seen a picture of Lord Chaitanya with a dhoti. So they told me, you can't just wear a dhoti. You have to be a devotee to wear a dhoti. I said, I'll become a devotee. And they say, what? I says, I'll become a devotee. I said, you have to shave your head. I said, I'll shave my head. No problem. So one devotee named Shripati was the Sankirtan leader and a very good cook. And he was preaching to me, explaining to me the Bhagavad Gita, because at that point in time, I spoke mostly French. I was born in a French family, and I had studied English in school, but did not have good command of English. So he was explaining to me at the time how the Bhagavad Gita, we had the 1968, the purple Bhagavad Gita. He was explaining to me how in order to understand all this, we have to accept a bona fide guide, a bona fide teacher, a guru. I said, okay, I'll accept a guru. Who is the guru? They say, Prabhupada. Says, oh, I met him. I saw him 2 years ago. And he was very intrigued. So I told him the story. I said, you come tomorrow. We'll get you a dhoti. We'll get you shaved. So I went the next day, shaved the head, put the dhoti on. But there were not too many devotees there that spoke French. There was one other devotee named Nimai or Nitai somebody. And he was waiting for another devotee, French-speaking devotee, to join the temple so he could leave and join some Christian monks in a monastery. He wanted to become a Christian monk again, even though he had been an initiated devotee. So when I joined, he spent one day with me, explained to me what was going on, and then he left. So there were several devotees there. Bharadraj Prabhu, Ishan Prabhu was there. And I remember the first time I went on Sankirtan in Montreal, Bharadraj Prabhu and Shripati, Bharadraj Prabhu would play the mridanga very expertly, and Ishan Prabhu would play the trumpet. He was a very expert trumpet player. So we would go on St. Catherine Street in Montreal, and it was a very blissful event. Devotees would have cards with the Maha Mantra, inviting people to come to the temple for the Sunday feast. And we would distribute little leaflets, both in English and French, called the Peace Formula. Because at that time, the war in Vietnam was ongoing, so it was very popular to preach the Peace Formula. Another little pamphlet we had, both in French and English, was the message on chanting the Maha Mantra. This is Srila Prabhupada's explanation of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra when he came to New York in 1966. And people would look at that, and what happens, we would have the kirtan. Ishan Prabhu would play on his trumpets, and there was a blissful chanting, and then it would stop. And Shripati Prabhu and Bhariraj Prabhu would address the crowd and explain the meaning of the chanting. So then they started to train me that you have to speak in French, explain it in French. And basically what Bhariraj first told me, he says, you preach like this. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You tell them that in French. Every living entity, you are not this body. You're our eternal spirit soul. And the process of self-realization, of spiritual realization for this age is to chant Hare Krishna. And this chanting will free you from all anxieties. So then he taught me very simple points, 1, 2, 3. And 4, you learn this Sanskrit. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalo nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gateranyata. That one was easy. I learned pretty quickly. And then you explain to them, come to the temple on Sunday feast. We have on Sunday afternoon, we have a nice love feast. And in those days, Sripati Prabhu, who was one of the most expert cooks in the whole movement, he would, at the Montreal temple, the bowling alley temple on Park Avenue, he would cook this wonderful feast. Sabjis, rice, pakoras, buckets of pakoras, halva, sweet rice. And he would cook like massive amounts of prasadam. And he was very expert, very expert. So it was quite an experience in the beginning to have the association of these devotees and the focus, the amazing focus they had on Srila Prabhupada. All these devotees were focused on Srila Prabhupada. I remember at that time, Bharadwaj was making a painting. He was in the process of making this wonderful painting of Lord Krishna, showing the universal form in his mouth to Mother Yasoda. And this was an amazing painting. It was a developing painting that he was working on. And the devotees were so focused. One time, a few weeks after I joined in June of '69, the devotees got a tape from New York of Srila Prabhupada chanting Govinda Jaya Jaya. And this was amazing because Sripati and Ishan Prabhu, they got everybody gathered around the tape. And they put the tape recorder, some kind of a real tape recorder, and we were listening to the tape. And I remember distinctly how Sripati explained, this is very, very rare. This is very, very potent. This is Srila Prabhupada singing. This is a pure devotee. Just by hearing a pure devotee singing, one can be completely liberated. One can become free from all anxieties. And this was like so ecstatic because it was ingrained right from the beginning that by hearing from this pure devotee, by reading the books and instruction of the pure devotee, one will be eternally benefited. One will be free from all anxieties. And so this was a very amazing, very special experience with these devotees. I just want to read a couple of passages that I compiled, a few points of discussion. This is a conversation in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 99. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 99. Bhattacharya he tabi kahe Prabhu charane, agnya dehayai kari Krishna darashane. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. At that time, Balabhadra Bhattacharya placed a request at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, please give me permission to go see Lord Krishna directly. Purport. The puzzled people who visited Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were actually seeing Lord Krishna, but they were mistaken in thinking that Lord Krishna had come to Kaliya Lake. They all said that they had seen Krishna directly performing his pastimes on the hood of the serpent Kaliya, and that the jewels on Kaliya's hoods were blazing brilliantly. Because they were speculating with their imperfect knowledge, they saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an ordinary human being and a boatman's light in the lake as Krishna. One must see things as they are through the mercy of a spiritual master. Otherwise, if one tries to see Krishna directly, he may mistake an ordinary man for Krishna or Krishna for an ordinary man. Everyone has to see Krishna according to the verdict of Vedic literatures presented by the self-realized spiritual master. A sincere person is able to see Krishna through the transparent via medium of Sri Guru Deva, the spiritual master. Unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though he remains constantly with the spiritual master. This incident at Kaliyadaha is very instructive for those eager to advance in Krishna consciousness. So again, this is a very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada. The reason I chose this particular purport is because I was recently asked by a devotee, why is it that in the practice of Krishna consciousness, specifically when we look at the history of what took place since 1977, we see that many devotees or senior devotees are devotees who had a lot of physical, personal, so-called living association with Srila Prabhupada, but yet many of these individuals manifested many misunderstandings and many deviations from the proper practice of Krishna consciousness as taught and demonstrated by Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada gives a very interesting point here. Unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though he remains constantly with the spiritual master. So this is a very important point, which goes to emphasize the point that Vani is always more important than Vapu. Of course, the Vapu, or the direct association with Srila Prabhupada, was very nice, very blissful. Some of us were very fortunate to have that. But the main point to understand is that the Vani, Srila Prabhupada always emphasized that the Vani, the instruction of the spiritual master, is always more important than the Vapu. And one should never think that because one had some personal physical association with the spiritual master or close physical association with Srila Prabhupada, that he is a better devotee than others who did not have that association. That is a misconception and a misunderstanding, a very dangerous misunderstanding. Srila Prabhupada, in a letter to one devotee named Gopijana Vallabha Dasa, on September 19, 1974, stated, "Upon your recommendation, I am initiating the following disciples. You must see that they strictly follow the regulative principles, the 4 prohibitions, as well as the devotional practices of arising early, taking morning bath, putting on tilak, attending Mangalartik, chanting japa 16 rounds, and attending Srimad Bhagavatam class. This is the duty of all my initiated disciples, whether they are big or they are small. Actually, in our movement, there is no such thing as big or small. Everyone is a devotee, so everyone is expected to follow the devotional practices. Here in Vrindavan, I'm enjoying my disciples how they are speaking. So 2 times daily, everyone must attend the classes. During the morning and evening times, there should be no business, simply kirtan, chant, dance, and be purified. Do not be Paramahamsa that now I haven't got to hear Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Don't be a better Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. I go and sit and enjoy the lectures and how they are performing kirtan. So as I'm doing, you must also do. So this is a very important point, because there has been a certain level of elitism on the part of many devotees who had close association, so-called physical association with Prabhupada. Now that's very nice. We feel that we know that anybody who had the personal, direct physical association of Prabhupada was very fortunate. That was a rare privilege. That is very, very sweet, very nice. But Srila Prabhupada says here that we have no such thing. Actually, in our movement, we have no such thing as big or small. Everyone is a devotee. So this is a very important point. Just to relate a little story, I was told a story one time by one of Prabhupada's servants that Srila Prabhupada was asked a question by a devotee on a morning walk once. Srila Prabhupada, what about the big devotees in this movement? And Prabhupada stopped and he said, I'm the only big devotee in this movement, unquote. Now this is quite significant, because what we saw after Prabhupada's departure is many people trying to imitate Srila Prabhupada, trying to play the part of Srila Prabhupada, claiming to have been appointed by Srila Prabhupada as his successor, but this created great havoc in this movement. We have seen the result. It has been a devastation. At this point, I wanted to address a few points about what is the meaning of bhakti, because we all have seen in the last 46 years various events and various changes in the original practices, programs, and mandates that were established by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Now, what do we mean? Now, we saw very soon after 1978, after certain individuals declared themselves Prabhupada's successors, or the so-called appointed Diksha Gurus, something which no one has been able to conclusively prove in the last 46 years, that as soon as they did that, they started to change many of these established procedures that were done by Srila Prabhupada. Now, I know that Nimai Pandit Prabhu and also Damagosh Prabhu, they have researched these topics in considerable detail. What is the structure of ISKCON, the intended structure of ISKCON? What is the actual discipline succession? What were Srila Prabhupada's direct instructions for the continuation of his society? What were Prabhupada's direct instructions with regard to initiations and Srila Prabhupada's will? And what most people on this call, or probably everyone on this call are listening, they know Prabhupada did not want many changes in the structure of his society. As a matter of fact, in Srila Prabhupada's will, there is a place where he mentioned there is no need of changing the structure or changing the management. That implies that the change in the initiation procedure and the change in the program. But within a few months, after Prabhupada departed, we were in Vrindavan at the time. Prajimna, Panditji was there, many sannyasis, many devotees, another devotee named Drupada, he was the chief pujari at the time. Many devotees were observing that devotees were coming from Europe, from France, England, America, Germany, and we were seeing different pictures of Vyasasanas, different guru pujas, and so many different changes were being introduced, all on the basis of the LJEP. Somebody say, Yasoda, what is the LJEP? What are you talking about? LGEP, Living Guru Experimental Project. They started with this concoction that because we've been appointed as Diksha Gurus, therefore now we have to change the Artik procedure, we have to change the Guru procedure, Guru Puja procedure, we have to change the Kirtan procedure, we have to change the altar, we have to change this, we have to change that. Everything was being tossed upside down. All on the basis of this concoction. the Aljep. And what is the root cause of this Aljep? It's called the SAS, S-A-A-S, the self-appointed Acharya Sabha. Certain individuals concocted, misinterpreted Prabhupada's instruction, and they developed this concoction that because we are now living gurus, you people have to worship us like Prabhupada. Now, interestingly, we saw when we had the first discussion of some of these individuals, the late secretary, some sannyasis from Mayapur, some other individuals from Europe, Western Europe, when Prajimna told them that what you people are doing now was not given by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada did not introduce these procedures that you are doing. The division of the zones, the title of acharyas, the guru pujas, the new pranam mantras, everything was upside down. It says, in the last few months of Srila Prabhupada's manifested presence, there is no recorded instruction where Prabhupada said to do all that. As a matter of fact, Srila Prabhupada many times said to continue as it was done before. But the founders of the Aljep came to the conclusion that because they had consulted some individual from the Neomat in Navadvip, that now they should invent this new philosophy. What was the philosophy? Oh, just put on the uniform of the guru and it will tell you what to do. What? What is this idea? Prabhupada did not preach like that. As a matter of fact, the first report that came from this SAS, the self-appointed Acharya Sabha, mentioned the process of initiation and then said, in consultation with higher authorities. Excuse me? Who? Which higher authorities are they talking about? You mean to say that they had consulted higher authorities than Srila Prabhupada? If they intended to say that they had consulted a singular authority in Navadvip, the spelling would have been authority in the singular. Now, did they intend to say that they had consulted amongst themselves and described themselves as higher authorities? Did Srila Prabhupada ever indicate that there were higher authorities than him in his movement? No. So this insult to Srila Prabhupada was the beginning of the problem. So anyway, at Janmashtami, when we tried to discuss these issues with them, they really had no answer. Their answer was to tell Guru Kripa Swami, oh, this Yasodanandana and Prajimna, they're making waves, they're causing trouble. If you shut them up, we'll make you a guru at Mayapur next year. Oh, really? Guru Kripa told him, you're speaking all nonsense. Because the whole thing was a concoction. That whole guru system was a hoax and a concoction. It was even admitted a few years later by the late secretary in Topanga Canyon, California, on December 3rd, 1980, where he admitted that you cannot show me on tape or anywhere or in writing where Srila Prabhupada says, I appoint these people as gurus. This is a myth. So that organization has been functioning on the basis of mythology, concoction. That's why we call it the Aljep, the Living Guru Experimental Project. That is not the path that we should be following. So anyway, I'm going to read a few texts from Srila Prabhupada where he discusses what is the meaning of bhakti. And the reason I'm speaking like this is because there's a clear distinction we have to understand between the bona fide Rupa Anuga Sampradaya and the Rupi Anuga Sampradaya. Rupi is the currency of the government of India. Now, Rupanuga are the followers of Rupa Goswami. Now, we often call ourselves Prabhupadanugas because we consider that we follow the teachings, instructions, directive, and mandates of Srila Prabhupada. Now, some have objected that Prabhupada never used that term. Well, the word anuga means following, follower. So there's nothing wrong with saying that we are follower, or, put it mildly, gently. We're aspiring followers of Srila Prabhupada. But there are many, and we don't intend to point the finger at anybody, who are Prabhupadanuga. They're more concerned about money making in the dress of Vaishnav rather than following the bona fide instruction of Rupa Goswami and his foremost representative, Srila Prabhupada. So we will read a few points. Many of these points have been discussed by Narasimha Prabhu and Damagosh Prabhu and Ishan Prabhu, but I'm going to read a few points. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is from a Chaitanya Charitamrita lecture on Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 91. This was given in March 13th, 1974. March 13th, 1974 in Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, that is his propaganda. Chetu darpana marjanam bhava mahadevagni nirovapanam saravatmanam param vijayate Sri Krishna samkirtanam. Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 2012. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so his Guru Maharaj advised him, he presented himself like that to Prakashananda Saraswati. Presenting himself as fool means that the general mass of people, they're not fit for becoming very great Sanskrit scholar or very good philosopher or student of Vedanta philosophy. That is not possible in this age in Kali Yuga. Mass of people, they're almost Shudra Sambhava. Scholarship, to study Sanskrit, to study Vedas, Puranas, they're meant for the Brahmins, not even for the Kshatriyas. Or what to speak of Vaishya, Shudra, and women. They have been classified in the Bhagavad Gita as less intelligent. Sriyu Vaishyas tata Shudras tepi yanti param gatim. Bhagavad Gita 9:32. But Krishna is so merciful, if you take the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, whatever you may be scholar or not scholar, you may be rich or poor, women, Shudra, Vaishya, or Papayoni, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. In Bhagavat also, Shukadev Goswami says, Kirata hunandra pulinda pulkasha, abhira shumba yavanaha kasadayaha, Yenyecha Papa, Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18. Papa means born in low-grade family. They're called Papa, Shuddhanti. They become purified. That is the verdict of the Shastra, that Bhagavad Bhakti does not depend on any kind of material qualification. Simply you have to become very sincere and serious. That is the only price. Rupa Goswami also recommended like that. Tataralolyam mekalam mulyam. Rupa Goswami advised, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita mati kriyatam yadikuto apilabhyate. Padyavali text 14. He advised that Krishna consciousness, if it is available, you purchase anywhere it is available. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advice, that one should be eager to purchase this Krishna consciousness at any price. Generally, we think price means in terms of money, monetary transaction, say 100 pounds or 200 pounds or million pounds, billion pounds, like that. The price is different. Here, Rupa Goswami says that your price, you purchase at any price. But what is that price? Tatra lolyam mikalam mulyam. Lolyam, eagerness, that is price. That is the only qualification. You must be very eager to see the lotus feet of Krishna in this very life. You must be very eager to talk with Krishna in this very life, but not to become sahajiya, by service. Krishna talks with the devotee, but not with non-devotee. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham tatayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. Bhagavad Gita 10:10. Only persons who are always engaged in Krishna's service, He has no other business. Satata. Satata means 24 hours. He has no other business. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam. And the bhajatam means in service. You must find out always some opportunity how to give, render service to Krishna. That is the qualification. It does not matter what you are. You may be this or that. It doesn't matter. But this eagerness for service can be acquired by anyone, simply by sincerity. That is the price. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami says, Tatra lolyam ekalam mulyam. Madhya Lila 870. So that I've got too much eagerness. But no, immediately, Srila Rupa Goswami warns, Na janma kotibihi sukritibir labhyate. This eagerness to achieve Krishna's mercy, to approach the lotus feet of Krishna in this life, determination. I shall do anything. I shall sacrifice anything. This kind of determination is not very easily obtained. Na janma kotibihi sukritibihi. Sukriti means pious activities. Without being pious, nobody can approach Krishna. Krishna is not so cheap. You may show yourself that you have become great sannyasi or Vaishnava or whatever it may be, but so long you'll be engaged in sinful activities, there is no question of Krishna consciousness. That sinful activities means illicit sex and intoxication, gambling and meat eating. These are the pillars of sinful activities. So one must be purified, janma kotibihi. These, to purify oneself from the resultant action of sinful activities, it takes many, many births, janma kotibihi sukriti. By counteracting the sinful activities, to engage oneself in pious activities. So pious activities means brahmacharya, shamo damo titiksha, the Brahminical qualifications. But it is very difficult nowadays to practice. So this is a very important point that is discussed by Prabhupada, that what is the real bhakti? What is the process of acquiring this bhakti? This is quite significant. We see that in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada, many times he is described, especially in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's given many warnings of certain things that devotees should be very careful to avoid, of what not to do. And I want to read a few sections here because this is a very important point. In the Shikshastakam, Srila Prabhupada has described the path of pure devotion. Srila Prabhupada, a Krishna-conscious person has no desire for self-satisfaction. His criteria of success is the satisfaction of Krishna. And thus he is the perfect sannyasi or perfect yogi. Lord Chaitanya, the highest perfectional symbol of renunciation, prays in this way, Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhakti raetu kitvaye. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want only is the causeless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So this is a very important point. Srila Prabhupada, in one letter to Corandar, on October 8, 1974, October 8, 1974, as described, please accept my blessings. I'm very pleased to receive your letter dated September 11, 1974, and I've noted the contents with great delight. The thing is, where is the question of making any conspiracy? The materialistic man creates diplomacy and conspiracy for sense gratification. everyone wants in the material world some reputation, profit, and some adoration. But so far we are concerned, we're being trained up by following the footsteps of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktiraye tukitvaye. Antalila 2029, Shikshastaka text 4. My Lord, I do not want any monetary gain, neither any number of followers or wife, but simply I want to be engaged in your causeless devotional service, which means I do not even want salvation. So if we follow the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where is the question of conspiracy? So this is a very important point raised by Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada did not want his disciples to fight over money, over control of properties, over positions, over how much worship one should get. That is not what Prabhupada has given. There's also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita a very important instruction. This is taken from a Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 1, Text 27. 7:127. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilala 5:205, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also thinks of himself in such a humble way. Jagai madai oi muise papishta, purisher kitoite muise lagishta. I'm a worse sinner than Jagai and Madai, and I'm even lower than the worms in the stool. A pure devotee always thinks himself more deficient than everyone else. If a devotee approaches Srimati Radharani to offer some service to Krishna, even Srimati Radharani thinks that the devotee is greater than she. Thus, Narada Muni says that according to his opinion, the enemies of Krishna are better situated because they are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna in terms of killing him, just as a very lusty man always thinks of women and their association. So this is very important. Next, we will turn to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, Chapter 5, Text 205-206. Adi Lila, Chapter 5, Text 205-206. Jagai madai muite se papishta, purisher kitoete muise lagishta. This is the amazing humility of Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I am more sinful than Jagai and Madai, and even lower than the worms in the stool. Moranam shuna yetapa punyakshay, moranam la yetara papahoy. Anyone who hears my name loses the results of his pious activities. Anyone who utters my names becomes sinful. Iman nirgrina mori keba kripakari, ikonityananda vinu jagata bitari. Who in this world but Nityananda could show his mercy to such an abominable person as me? So this is quite the humility of Krishnadas Kaviraj, who is showing us the perfect example of how to become a proper Vaishnava. There's a conversation at Mayapur on February 18th, 1976. This is a February 18th, 1976 in Mayapur, where Srila Prabhupada describes the mindset of Lord Chaitanya. Devotee, brahmacharis don't like to take instructions from the elder devotees, and then they want to take sannyas, so they think they can be independent and give orders themselves and not listen. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, therefore not to be given all of a sudden, to become sevaka. Everyone wants to become sevya, Hridayananda, served. Srila Prabhupada, yes, and ultimately God, se pasha bo. When everything failure, then to become God. Jai Pataka, That is why Lord Chaitanya said that I'm not a sannyasi. Srila Prabhupada, yes, Gopi Bharatuhu Padakamala Yor Dasa. Yasodanandana, Naham Vipro Nachanavar Parhil Napi Vaishyo. Srila Prabhupada, Brityasya Britya, servant of the servant. Madhya Lila 1380. Everyone, if he wants to become a master, that is materialism. Very important instruction from His Divine Grace. Now, after that, I wanted to read from a conversation in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, India, on December 5th, 1976. December 5th, 1976. There's an Indian gentleman, he's asking Srila Prabhupada, Your Divine Grace, there is Mukunda Mala Stotra by Kulashekar Maharaja. Are there any translations of that in the English and other languages? Shlokas with you, Krishna mantra. Srila Prabhupada, I think we have translated Kulashekar. It is not published, but I have translated. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the Nectar of Devotion in chapter 32, in the Mukunda Mala Stotra compiled by King Kulashekara, one of the prayers says, My dear Lord, you are the deliverer of living entities from the hellish conditions of materialistic life. But that does not matter to me. Whether I'm elevated to the heavenly platform or remain on this earthly planet, or I'm dispatched to some hellish planet, that does not matter at all to me. My only prayer is that at the time of my death, I may simply remember your two beautiful feet, which are just like lotus flowers fructifying during the autumn season. Very important. There is also another verse in the Mukunda Mala Stotra. It is described, Masjanmana phalamidam maduketa bari matprartanaya madanugraha esha eva tvad britya britya paricharaka britya britya brityasya britya iti mam smaralokanata. O enemy of Madhu and Kaitaba, O Lord of the universe, the perfection of my life, and the most cherished mercy you could show me would be for you to consider me the servant of 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 your servant. So he uses that word Britya 7 times to emphasize the point to become the servant of the Vaishnavas. Very important point. Now we see so many examples of Prabhupada's amazing humility. In our Sampradaya, there's also the example of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approached them, the first time that they met Lord Chaitanya, they basically described themselves in a very simple way. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 189. Madhya Lila, chapter 1, text 189. Nicha jati nicha sangi kari nicha kaj, tomara grete prabhu kahete vasilaj. Sir, we belong to the lowest class of men, and our associates in employment are also of the lowest type. Therefore, we cannot introduce ourselves to you. We feel very much ashamed standing here before you. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Although the two brothers, Rup and Sanatan, at that time got Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik, presented themselves as being born in a low family, the Nadlas belonged to a most respectable Brahmin family that was originally from Karnataka. Thus, they actually belonged to the Brahmin caste. Unfortunately, because of being associated with the Muslim governmental service, their customs and behavior resembled those of the Muslims. Therefore, they presented themselves as Nicha Jati. The word Jati means birth. According to Shastra, there are 3 kinds of birth. The first birth is from the womb of the mother. The second birth is the acceptance of the reformatory method. And the third birth is acceptance by the spiritual master, initiation. one becomes abominable by adopting an abominable profession or by associating with people who are naturally abominable. Rup and Sanatana, as Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik, associated with Muslims who were naturally opposed to Brahminical culture and cow protection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 7th canto, it is stated that every person belongs to a certain classification. A person is identified by the special symptoms mentioned in the Shastras. By one's symptoms, one is known to belong to a certain caste. Both Dabir Kash and Sakar Malik belong to the Brahmin caste, but because they were employed by Muslims, their original habits degenerated into those of the Muslim community. Since the symptoms of Brahminical culture were almost nil, they identified themselves with the lower caste. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is clearly stated that because Sakar Malik and Dabir Kash associated with lower class men, they introduced themselves as belonging to the lower classes. Actually, however, they had been born in respectable Brahmin families. Next text, Matulyo nasti papatma na paradi chakaschana pariharya pilajjame kim bruve purushottama. Dear Lord, let us inform you that no one is more sinful than us, nor is there any offender like us. Even if we wanted to mention our sinful activities, we would immediately become ashamed and what to speak of giving them up. Purport. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.154 by Srila Rupa Goswami. The next text, Patit Pavanitu Tomar Avatar, Amapaite Jagati Patit Nayar. Both brothers submitted. Dear Lord, you have incarnated to deliver the fallen souls. You should consider that in this world there is none so fallen as us. So this is very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada, from Krishnadas Kaviraj, the example of the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They were very humble. They were the personification of humility. We see, but the Sanskrit verse they quoted, they presented themselves as being very, very humble, very modest, and very meek. Very important. Next, I wanted to read a few points from a conversation with Srila Prabhupada in 1974 in Los Angeles on July 14th, 1974. July 14th, 1974. This is a description by Srila Prabhupada of the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Prabhupada, they will live just like a dog live with you. But you are developed. He is not developed. Swarup Damodar, but still he's benefited. Srila Prabhupada, Swarup Damodar, he is benefited from the consciousness of the master. Srila Prabhupada, so yes, if the master is devotee, then he is benefited. Kita janma'au yata tuya das. Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings that let me become a worm in the house of a devotee. If I have to take birth, I don't want a life, non-devotional life, even if it is like Brahma. I'll prefer to become a worm in the house of a devotee. This is the prayer of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Nama, Hare Nama. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 1721. Swarup Damodar. Similarly, when we associate with a spiritual master who has Krishna consciousness, automatically we also have some taste. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Swarup Damodar, students. Srila Prabhupada, bhakti means enhancing spiritual taste. That is bhakti. Bhakti parishanubhavo virakti ranyatra syad. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:242. And as he increases his spiritual taste, he becomes detestful to this material enjoyment. This is the taste. So these are very important instruction from Srila Prabhupada that he has given Finally, I want to make a few points. When Prabhupada came on the Jaladuta, he wrote this poetry called Markine Bhagavad Dharma. And Srila Prabhupada explains, I believe this is from one of Prabhupada's diary on the Jaladuta, 822, Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Prabhupada explains, Kikori buja kukata baro se chayi, kudrami dina hina kore shakti nahi. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own. Aniyacho yadi Prabhu amare nachate, nacho Prabhu nacho semate, kashtero puttalit yacho nacho semate. O Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance, make me dance. O Lord, make me dance as you like. Bhakti nai bedanai bade kubdaro, bhakti vedanta namebe sartakoro. I have no devotion, nor do I have any knowledge, but I have strong faith in the holy name of Krishna. I've been designated as Bhakti Vedanta, and now, if you like, you can fulfill the real purport of Bhakti Vedanta. This is very nice poetry by Srila Prabhupada explaining the real mindset of a pure devotee. In order to progress in spiritual life, we have to adopt the proper mindset of a devotee. Very, very important. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada describes in chapter 18, text 31, it is explained, and that understanding which cannot distinguish between the religious way of life and the irreligious, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, that imperfect understanding, O son of Prita, is in the mode of passion. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Intelligence in the mode of passion is always working perversely. It accepts religions which are not actually religions and rejects actual religion. All views and activities are misguided. Men of passionate intelligence understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. In all activities, they simply take the wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence in a mode of passion. So these are very important instruction from His Divine Grace. I wanted to take the opportunity for this to read a few verses that were compiled by Damagosh Prabhu last year on the topic of the disciplic succession. We're having discussion about what is the meaning that it describes in the Bhagavad Gita in the chapter 4 when Krishna described that the disciplic succession was lost, had been broken. So we will read here several quotations from Srila Prabhupada where he explains what that means. First one is it's a Prabhupada conversation in Perth, Australia on May 9th, 1975. Perth, Australia on May 9th, 1975. Srila Prabhupada, so why the post there? It is 6. Why not post there? Ganesh, Srila Prabhupada, if the knowledge was handed down by the saintly kings, evam parampara praptam, how is it that the knowledge was lost? Again, this was on May 9th, 1975 in Perth, Australia. Srila Prabhupada, when it was not handed down, simply understood by speculation, or if it is not handed down as it is, they might have made some changes, or they did not hand it down. Suppose I handed it down to you, but if you do not do that, then it is lost. Now the Krishna consciousness movement is going on in my presence. Now after my departure, if you do not do this, then it is lost. If you go on as you are doing now, then it will go on. But if you stop, so this is a very clear warning by Srila Prabhupada. He is given a very ominous warning of what happens if devotees do not follow his instruction and do as he instructed. Another conversation took place in New Delhi, India on September 2nd, 1976. September 2nd, 1976, a morning walk in New Delhi, India. Srila Prabhupada, yes, it is not so crowded. That path is very crowded. Devotee, 5,000 years back until now, there's only 30 acharyas? Srila Prabhupada, chain is broken when there are false spiritual masters. Otherwise, it is not broken. Chain is broken if a so-called spiritual master speaks something manufactured. Then the chain is broken. Otherwise, chain is not broken. Srila Prabhupada, devotee, indistinct. Srila Prabhupada, no, you could not. Uktastata bhavyata eva sadbir, kintu prabhor yapriya eva tasya. The spiritual master is as good as God because he's very dear to Krishna. He's preaching Krishna's mission, and Krishna is very, very pleased with him. Nachatasman manushyeshu kaschin me priyakritamaha. Bhagavad Gita 1869. That is spiritual master's qualification. He's trying his best to deliver the soul from these clutches of Maya. That is a great service. Therefore, he is very dear. One who is chanting or executing devotional service for his personal benefit, and one who is trying to deliver others for others' benefit, there is difference. Charanarvindam. Srila Prabhupada, isn't it the case that for some people then, when the disciplic succession is lost, because if you're following a false guru, for example, your teachings now will always be on the planet. There will be other gurus who present some false teaching. So does that mean that for some people, the disciplic succession is there, and some people it's not there if they're following a false guru? Does that mean they've lost the disciplic succession? Very good point. Another important discussion took place. Let me just get the reference here. This is an interview with Mike Darby in Wheeling, West Virginia on June 30th, 1976. Interview with Mike Darby in Wheeling, June 30th, 1976. Mr. Darby, so they all just continue in a circle to break their own laws. Srila Prabhupada, what can be done? Mr. Darby, would it help if someone took the Bible and wrote a Vaishnava purport or tried to simplify it so that people could understand it? The language is difficult for the common man now to understand. Srila Prabhupada, that we are spreading. Krishna consciousness movement is that you act what Krishna or God says. That's all. In our Bhagavad Gita, the Guru's description is there. Who is Guru? Read the 4th chapter. On this, all literature is simply Guru and disciple. One is instructing and one is hearing. Sorry, from 4.1, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Imam Vivishvasvate Yogam, Proktavannaham Abhyayam, Vivashvan Manavipraha, Manorikshvakavibravit. Bhagavad Gita 4.1. The Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaku. Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna instructed first to the sun god. Sun god instructed his son Manu. He instructed his son Ikshvaku. In this way, things are coming. Then read the 2nd verse. Sorry. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishayu viduhu sakaleniha mahata yogo nashtaparantapa. Bhagavad Gita 4:2. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Srila Prabhupada. The succession was broken, so similarly Christ says something, so that if commandment is received by succession, then it goes nicely. But if you break it according to your necessity, then where is the authority? Mr. Darby, none, no use. If you have the rules there, the law is there to be passed, and someone forgets them, it's just sinful. Srila Prabhupada, so they are passing resolution. Suppose there is a law of the state, ordinary say keep to the right, and in this village all members, they assemble together and pass a resolution that no, keep to the left. Will it be accepted? Even they pass a resolution, the state will not accept it, unless it is, of course, there should be no change. But anything spoken by God or his son or his representative, that cannot be changed. It is not that Christ said 2,000 years ago, thou shalt not kill, now it can be changed. That is rascaldom. They are doing that. So if you do that, then it says here, then it becomes lost. Then there is no meaning. If we take the instruction of God and his representative as temporary, then he's not representative, he's not God. Whatever is spoken by God and his representative, that is eternal. You cannot change by your whims. So that is going on. I do not wish to discuss very much, but that is actually going on. As people, they by votes in the parliament, they pass any nonsense thing, so they want to do that in the case of Bible also. Then where is the authority of Bible? If Christ says that thou shalt not kill, and if people say 10,000 people in a meeting pass resolution, no, this is wrong, then where is the authority of Bible? Then you become authority? Darby, I see. Then in the Bible, in the beginning of it says that God created the heavens and the earth, and yet they say, give the description in Genesis as the way God created the heaven and this earth. Does this not confirm with Brahma's work? Very interesting points. Next, we will read a few paragraphs from a conversation with Srila Prabhupada with Dr. Copeland. This is from Melbourne, Australia on May 20th, 1975. May 20th, 1975. Dr. Copeland, we're not really arguing about the same thing. I am saying that if, say, somebody that Christ in the Bible says something, Srila Prabhupada, you must say that Christ says like this. That is honesty. Dr. Copeland, yeah, okay. Srila Prabhupada, if you say, no, what Christ says it is wrong, what I'm saying it is right, then it is dishonest. Dr. Copeland, Muhammad says, Srila Prabhupada, anyone, Muhammad says something, you have to say Muhammad says this. You cannot say what Muhammad says, it is not right. What I say it is right. You cannot say that. That is dishonest. You say in your own words. Why should you bring Muhammad or Krishna or Christ to say your words? Did they come to support your views? Dr. Copeland, no, I don't do that. Srila Prabhupada, no, you do not do that. You do not do that. You will see Dr. Radhakrishna says, when he's making comment on it, he says it is not to Krishna. Krishna says, Manmana bhavan mad bhakto mam namaskuru. And Dr. Radha, he says, not to Krishna. How he is misleading people. He's a great scholar, and he says it is not to Krishna, to the person. Just see, this dishonesty is going on. What right is God to say like that? Did he, Krishna left his Bhagavad Gita to be interpreted by a rascal? Not to Krishna? This is rascaldom. You cannot say, you must say what Krishna says if you take Bhagavad Gita. But if you got a different views, then you write your own book. Present, as many other philosophers are doing, I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me. That's all right. Nasyo munir yasya matam nabinnam. You cannot become a big philosopher unless you've got a different views. That is the way. If I don't defy you, then I'm not a big philosopher. That is the way. It is going on. So nasyo munir yasa. If I take the opinion of one muni and another muni, then where is the real view? Therefore it is said, Mahajano yenagata sapantaha. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 17:186. Big personality is what they have done. We have to follow that. So our principle is that we are following Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahajana, a great personality. Or the Christians are following Christ, a great personality. Mahajano yena gata sapantaha. You follow some Mahajana, great personality. Don't take opinion, this man, that man, this man, this man. Then you will be bewildered. Dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam. Mahajano yena gata sapantaha. So you have to follow one great personality, Acharya. That is also recommended in the Bhagavatam. Acharya upasanam, Bhagavad Gita. Following the Acharya. So we've got recognized Acharya. Just like you said, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Shankaracharya even. You follow one Acharya. Like Christians, they follow Christ, Acharya. The Mohammedans, they follow Acharya, Mohammed. That is good. You must follow some Acharya. But don't give your opinion. That is our process. Evam parampara praptam. Just see, find out. Madhvisa. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishayo viduhu. Sakala neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. Bhagavad Gita 4:2. Srila Prabhupada, 4th chapter, give me water. Madhvisa, 4th chapter, 34th verse. Amoga. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Srila Prabhupada, yes, as soon as you give up the Acharya Parampara system, then it is lost. Krishna says that manmana bhavamad bhaktaha. All the acharyas will say like that. Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and Dr. Radhakrishnan? No, it is not to Krishna. Just see the fun. He has become more than the acharyas. So we reject immediately. He thinks himself too proud that he defies the acharyas. You see, this is the defect. The whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken on a battlefield. Gandhi says it is non-violence. Just see. Dr. Copeland's laughs. So we have to follow these people, do you mean to say? Dr. Copeland, if you're measuring your success by the numbers of people, he had a lot of people too. Srila Prabhupada, no, we don't take that by number of people. We take how many people are taking actually. But neither ekas chandras tamohanti. If one man accepts, then he can become the bright moon. Nachataraha sahasrashaha. The so-called stars has no value. One moon is sufficient. But our preaching is let one man understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. We don't want disciples. I never collected disciples. I never compromised that you can do whatever you like and you become my disciple. No, you have to follow this. Now also this morning, I accepted so many. Prabhupada goes on a little later in the conversation. He is discussing Srila Prabhupada, no, that is the statement in the Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishayo viduhu. We have to receive the knowledge through parampara, disciplic succession. And because the parampara is broken, therefore it is lost. Krishna says, so we cannot accept Bhagavad Gita or any Vedic literature, what is called Shruti. Shruti means one hears from the Acharya. That is the system. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada explains so many very important points about the disciplic succession and why the disciplic succession becomes broken. We have all experienced various disturbances since 1977 in the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. In another conversation in Vrindavan, in a class on Nectar of Devotion, on the October 31st, 1972, October 31st, 1972, Srila Prabhupada gives another explanation why the disciplic session gets broken. So to find out a bona fide guru, spiritual master, is not very difficult. It is very easy. Krishna says explicitly, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarishayu viduhu. Bhagavad Gita 4.2. This knowledge, Vedic knowledge, is received by parampara system. Just like Krishna says to the sun god, Imam vivasvate yogan proktabannaham avyayam vivasvan manabe prava manurishvakabe bravit evam parampara praptam imam raja rishayu viduhu. Krishna said that this yoga system, first of all, I explained to the sun god, and he explained it to his son Manu, and Manu explained it to his son Ikshvaku. In this way, by the parampara system, by the disciplic succession, the knowledge is coming. Sakalinaha yogo nashtaparantapa. But as soon as it began to be explained to others, without being in the disciplic succession, in the chain of disciplic succession, speaking the same truth, it becomes broken. Sakalineha yogo nashtaha, yogo nashtaha. It is spoiled. If one does not come in a disciplic succession, he'll spoil the teaching. That is being done. So-called commentator, teacher of Bhagavad Gita, he does not come in a disciplic succession. He is self-made guru. Therefore, he is not guru. Self-made guru cannot be guru. He must be authorized by the bona fide guru. Then he is guru. This is the fact here. Nobody can be self-made anything. A medical practitioner, he cannot become self-made. Oh, I've studied all the medical books in my home. No. Have you ever gone to the medical college and taken instruction from the bona fide teachers? Then if you've got the certificate, then you are a medical practitioner. Similarly, bona fide guru means he must be authorized by the superior guru. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Amaranya Guruan Tariyadesh, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 7:128. He must receive the order from the superior, and the superior must be bona fide. Then he is bona fide, not self-made. Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta Jignashu Shreyottamam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:321. The direction is that one must go to a guru. But who is guru? Shabde paricha nisnatam brahmani upashamashrayam. These are the descriptions. So the question is, we have to be very vigilant and carefully study Srila Prabhupada's instruction, Srila Prabhupada's mandates and directives to correctly ascertain the proper direction. Those who are changing the teachings, concocting, changing the Bhagavad Gita, disobeying Prabhupada's instruction, inventing and manufacturing new mantras, new procedures, those are not in the bona fide disciplic succession from Srila Prabhupada. This is an important point, because we see there are so many devotees. They're making so much effort to preach, go on Samkirtan, just like my good friend Mathurapati in Germany. Goes on Samkirtan, preaching, chanting in the streets, publishing books, cooking prasadam, kirtan, Samkirtan, so many activities in the line of Srila Prabhupada. This is the standard Prabhupada wanted. So many devotees are now understanding that unless we follow Srila Prabhupada as it is, it will not be successful. we see the result of so many confused people, so many bewildered people who do not follow Prabhupada's instruction. A lot of time people are asking me, well, why do you keep mentioning this point so frequently about manufacturing new mantras? Because that is not what Prabhupada gave. That is not the standard that Prabhupada established. Where did Prabhupada get the idea to chant the Panchatattva Mahamantra and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra during Kirtan? Where did this come from? From his guru. Where did that instruction come from? From Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Where did we get the instruction? From Bhagavad Gita, from Prabhupada's purports. Prabhupada translated the purports of Baladev Vidyabhusana, the instructions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So this is the bona fide disciplic succession, the flow of the pure transcendental knowledge is coming through Srila Prabhupada. Now, what has happened and what we're facing now is people distorting and changing the instruction. Just like right now, recently, in the last few months, devotees have been sending me these kirtans from Vrindavan, from Russia, from Varanasi, and other places, where they've invented some mantra, Jai Radhe, Bo Sri Krishna Radhe, with some gypsy dancing. And I'm thinking, where is this from? Did Prabhupada give you this mantra? In the Pramaya Ratnavali of Baladev Vidyabhusana, in the beginning, in the first chapter, he very clearly explains, Sampradaya Vihinaye Mantraste Nishphalamataha, that unless you get your mantra in bona fide disciplic succession, Nishphalamataha, it will be useless. It will have no effect. So they're inventing new mantras, new procedures, some demigod worship, car pujas, changing bush, changing this, so many nonsense introductions that are not in the line of Srila Prabhupada. So all we have to do is simply follow Srila Prabhupada's instruction, Srila Prabhupada's mandates. It is not very complicated. It is not very difficult. And all those people that are promoting their own vapu instead of promoting Srila Prabhupada, they're misleading people. Misleading people. All of you are familiar with the Bhagavad Gita, and we have the chapter 4, text number 42, where Prabhupada gives a very stark warning. Now, this is very important. I often read this, and the reason we read this, because this is a very clear warning by Srila Prabhupada for any practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, any devotees. What is this? I'm going to read a few points here. A bona fide spiritual master is in a disciplic succession from time eternal, and it does not deviate at all from the instructions of the Supreme Lord as they were imparted millions of years ago to the Sun God, from whom the instructions of Bhagavad Gita have come down to the earthly kingdom. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and be aware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of the Gita. So the question comes up, who gave the authority of any devotee in this movement to make 5,000 changes to Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita? What is this nonsense? Why? Prabhupada did not authorize anybody to do these changes. And if they want to argue, oh, we're just editing. No. The only two edits Prabhupada said in the Bhagavad Gita is that one mistake that was made in the chapter where the word is described, cattle raising. Prabhupada said, no, that should be cow protection. And in the 13th chapter where described the kshetrajna, the knower of the self, there's one place Prabhupada says, yes, that change should be made. But so many other changes they have made. Unauthorized changes. Unauthorized changes. So we were in Prabhupada's room in Calcutta once, and Prabhupada was explaining why the Krishna consciousness movement is successful. And Prabhupada explained, because I give Bhagavad Gita as it is. no adulteration. And Prabhupada gave the example in Calcutta, there is a sweet shop called K.C. Das. K.C. Das is the most famous sweet shop in Calcutta. They have the best quality rasgulla in all of India. Very high quality. And Prabhupada, every day people line up to get this rasgulla. Why? Because they have original recipe. They never change. They never adulterate. They never adulterate. So that is why our Krishna consciousness movement like that is successful. So we're very happy. We feel very enthused. Some of us are getting a little old in the body with so many difficulties, but there are so many young, blissful devotees preaching, Sankirtan. I hear so many beautiful activities. Nimai Pandit in New York, your beautiful Varnashram project, your project in Germany. We have Janaspriya in Hawaii preaching. So many devotees everywhere. Vijay Pandit in Italy. There's another devotee I know in England. He's preaching very nicely to so many devotees. Aprakrita in Montreal, Navadvip in Vancouver. There are so many devotees preaching the message as it is. We should never be disturbed by those who have chosen to deviate. The fact that they have chosen to deviate, unfortunately, doesn't mean that we have to deviate. Because they have concocted nonsense interpretations, doesn't mean that we have to concoct nonsense interpretation. Simply we follow Srila Prabhupada, follow his instruction, chant Hare Krishna, chant the original mantras Prabhupada has given, and we see practically very good result. Very good result. I'm going to read a few points here that I've compiled. This is a draft subject to revision.
Yasodanandana Prabhu.
Yes.
We've got a very limited amount of time before devotees want to take rest in Germany. They're having, I think, I'm a little mixed in time because I came from Germany today, but I think it's 9:15 p.m. there. Okay. Is there any chance you want to allow a few questions to be asked if there are any?
Yeah, you can, I guess. People, I can send that to you. You can look at it later. This is a draft of a mission statement and other.
No, we can read it.
Points.
We may have time to read it. I just want to see if they will have any questions on what you've said so far.
Okay, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Anybody have any question or comment to make so far?
You can hear me, but even
Yes.
15 minutes would be time also. Would be no problem for Germany.
Yeah.
It will not cause you trouble?
And then after 50 minutes, some question, then it's also okay. No problem.
Okay. I wanted to read a few points. This is a draft of a mission statement because we have a website, it's called Prabhupadanuga's Worldwide, which is very similar to what your devotees in Germany are doing, as well as what Nimai Pandit in New York is doing. Basically, is Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. This is Prabhupada Disciples Association, an international alliance of Srila Prabhupada's followers, established under the inspiration, guidance, and authority of the current spiritual master Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Mission statement. Prabhupadanugas and followers and devotees of Srila Prabhupada around the world with the goal to follow Srila Prabhupada's directives, orders, and original teachings in all matters, as well as to expose the deviations and distortions currently misleading those that want to follow Srila Prabhupada, and to bring back Srila Prabhupada to the center of his movement as the Acharya and initiating spiritual master. The Prabhupada Disciples Association PDA goal is to facilitate and foster communications and cooperation amongst all the devotees and followers of Srila Prabhupada, and to facilitate and encourage those interested in becoming devotees of Lord Krishna, disciples, students, and true followers of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Prabhupada Disciples Association PDA upholds the following. A. To present His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as the foremost preacher of Krishna consciousness in the modern times and as the ever-present and ultimate authority on all matters. B, to establish him as the sole successor Acharya of his guru, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. C, to preserve his risen works in their original form without any change. D, to spread the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra to every town and village. E, to distribute his original unrevised first edition books in every country on the earth. Original purpose of Prabhupada Disciples Association, PDA. And these are basically taken from the original ISKCON Incorporation in New York in 1966. I'm just going to skim through that. And then we have basic fundamental points of the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Let Srila Prabhupada speak for himself. Srila Prabhupada is ever present now in his Vani incarnation, his original, non-adulterated, first edition original books. 1. Srila Prabhupada is the current and final authority on all matters, being the Acharya and Diksha Guru, initiating spiritual master in the Krishna consciousness movement and ISKCON, based upon his clear, recorded, and written instructions that are available for all to study, examine, and understand. Based on all the above, the only system for initiations which he used, practiced, taught, and established with complete detail and clarity over a dozen years, and finalized, confirmed in his written directive and Ritvik order on July 9th of 1977, is a system of using officiating representative Ritviks in the matter of first and second initiations. This applies to all those wanting to be true followers of Srila Prabhupada and having a bona fide connection with him. 2. Srila Prabhupada's unrevised original first edition books are the basis of the Krishna consciousness movement and ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada's serious followers and disciples should use these books for reading, studying, and preaching, and whenever available for book distribution. 3. Srila Prabhupada's original method of offering bhoga and artik to the deities, which he taught, instructed, practiced, and demonstrated during his manifested presence, should be the method practiced, taught, and followed by Srila Prabhupada's followers, disciples, students, and new devotees. Srila Prabhupada's original tune, melody, raga, in performing kirtan, especially during artik, should be followed. Dancing during kirtan should also be the way Srila Prabhupada taught us. All other types of initiation change to the standard of artik and bhoga offerings. Unauthorized changes in Srila Prabhupada's teachings are dangerous infiltrations and deviations which are to be strictly avoided by true followers of Srila Prabhupada. The original method of offering bhoga to the deities, as he taught, instructed, practiced, and demonstrated during his manifested presence, should be the method practiced and followed by all serious new Prabhupada followers and disciples. And we quote a few citations from Srila Prabhupada where he explains that. Prabhupada says, actually, one has to offer the plate to his guru, and he'll offer his guru, he offers his guru. In this way, it will go to Krishna. Number 4, Srila Prabhupada's photograph and the photograph of Srila Prabhupada's authorized predecessor acharyas should be the only ones on the altars and preaching center of all serious, new, and seasoned Srila Prabhupada's followers and disciples, as practiced and demonstrated by Srila Prabhupada. 5. The Jayadvani, respectful obeisances prayers at the end of the kirtan, should be recited beginnings with pranams to Srila Prabhupada and the predecessor acharyas, in continuing with the other standard authorized pranams taught by Srila Prabhupada. 6. Srila Prabhupada's original method of offering pranam, respectful obeisances to him, by reciting audibly Namo Vishnu Padaya and Namaste Saraswati Devi, should be practiced by reciting audibly by all serious Prabhupada followers and disciples. No other pranam should be chanted other than the pranam mantras for Srila Prabhupada. 7. Srila Prabhupada is the pure Vaishnava who is meditated upon when singing Gurvastakam. 8. In the list of disciplic succession given by Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is number 32, with no need for a 33 as a link to number 32. Number 9, the term my guru or my spiritual master referred to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Number 10, all initiated members should strictly follow their initiation vows, chant 16 rounds daily, and follow the 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. Ideally, all the members are encouraged to follow the sadhana bhakti morning, noon, and evening program. Some devotees with health issues may be given special consideration if their health does not permit them to strictly follow some of the recommended sadhana practices. 11. Srila Prabhupada is fully and ever present in his Archa Vigraha form and pictures as confirmed by him. Srila Prabhupada is present in his pictures and murtis. Then is a letter from Srila Prabhupada on December 14, 1972. Next you ask if I'm present in my picture and form. Yes, in form as well as in teachings. To carry out the teachings of Guru is more important than to worship the form, but none of them should be neglected. Form is called Vapu and teachings is called Vani. Both should be worshipped. Vani is more important than Vapu. Number 12, the only annual Vyasa Puja ceremony is for His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. He lives forever by his divine instruction, and the follower lives with him. Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter, what will happen to the movement in the United States when you die? Srila Prabhupada replied, I will never die. Srila Prabhupada, I shall live from my books and you will utilize. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your time. I just want to mention also just very quickly, there's 2 devotees, at least 1 devotee in Alachua, Florida, Naveen Krishna Bhu, along with Nityananda Prabhu, who are doing a lot of wonderful preaching, a lot of historical explanation of what took place in the movement. Very important work. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Yasodanandana Prabhu. And don't forget yourself and Vishwakarma Prabhu and so many other devotees, but especially for you, we found you a pillar of representing Prabhupada purely, correctly, authentically, and so deeply. So we really, really appreciate and thank you for taking the time. We know you're super busy also, for taking the time to give us this association of yours. So if any devotee out there, starting with Mathurapati Prabhu, he can have first question or comment, please, Prabhu.
Prabhu,
We can't hear you.
No.
Okay.
Yasodananda Prabhu, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
So now I'm a little bewildered only, but so we are singing always program only 3 times Panchatattva mantra, and then we start immediately with Hare Krishna. So I think this was correct. But in the end, after a long time, I do also, because I read this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Prabhupada also Gauranga Nityananda, and then I do some 5 minutes, let's say, approx. Gauranga and all the group Nityananda, and then I start with Nityananda Gauranga. It's so ecstatic, but it is what is your opinion of? Because I read this was okay in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but I don't know is the Kirtan standard or not. I'm now questioning myself. But so, what is your conclusion on this?
Yeah, you're correct. There are many instructions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about the benefit of chanting Lord Nityananda, Lord Gauranga's name. It is definitely there. Now, as far as practical, during Prabhupada's manifested presence, whenever we had kirtan in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, many times after the kirtan, we would chant Jai Prabhupada a few times, and Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. But this was brief, because I've also seen during Prabhupada's manifested presence, when devotee would get carried away for 15-20 minutes, sometime Prabhupada would send his personal secretary or his servant to stop the kirtan. And if you look at some tapes or some video of Srila Prabhupada, he himself never did this Nitai Gaur Hari Bol or like that. But Prabhupada was very tolerant. He encouraged the devotees to chant, to express their devotional sentiment, their devotional emotions. There's nothing wrong with chanting Gaur Nitai's name, But if you listen to some of the original kirtan in 1966, you would have Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Hare Krishna, and then at the end of Hare Krishna, you would stop, then recite the Jayadvani, the respectful obeisances. So it's a matter of proper balance. I mean, we did chant in the presence of Srila Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Haribol a few times, and Jai Prabhupada a few times. But I do not know, you have to judge according to the circumstances locally what is the situation. I wanted to, just one point before I finish. We're trying to do a Vyasa Puja book. We are observing the Mayapur calendar, and on September 8th, we're having a celebration in Sacramento, California with Bhakti Ram Singh. So by August 31st, today is August 21st, we have another 10 days. Anybody who would like to present any offerings, any obeisance to Prabhupada, you can either send it to my attention or send it to Venkat Bhatta Prabhu, and we will make sure it is published. It's going to be, I believe, some kind of electronic PDF publication, but we are already gathering some offerings from anybody can make an offering. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a direct Prabhupada disciple or anything. It doesn't matter. Anybody can make an offering, even if there's a small offering or just paying obeisances. Everybody is welcome to offer their obeisances and homages to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Balaram Prabhu.
Yasodanandana Prabhu, I wanted to ask you a question. One of the points that's been brought up by you and brought up many times is some kind of different situation with different groups, and we get into like some kind of conflict. So I wanted to get from you, if possible, can you explain to us or establish from us, according to Srila Prabhupada, that as far as I see, I'm starting to see and understand that we should really learn to judge everything by symptoms. Like if the symptoms are there of this or that, we understand it's this or that, whether it be illusion, whether it be Maya, whether it be prema bhakti or whatever. So symptoms, key word is symptom. So according to, you mentioned this word success and successful. So according to Srila Prabhupada, what would be the symptoms of success at a preaching center or whatever? So just so we can, I mean, I want us to be like this, that if we look at a center or a devotee and we see these symptoms or that symptom, we say, okay, it's working. You know, if the fruit is there, the tree is working. So did Prabhupada have, let's say, a symptom list of what he would say, okay, this is successful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are many references in various letters and instruction from Srila Prabhupada. But first of all, devotees following properly, following the program, just like you're all doing. Bhagavad Gita classes, Bhagavatam classes, Tulsi worship, deity worship, or kirtan, these kind of sadhana program. That is the first point. Next point is the preaching point. To distribute books, to engage in Sankirtan, to engage in various preaching projects, that is very important. Now, it's important to remember that during Prabhupada's manifested presence, we had a united society, or reasonably united society. After Prabhupada departed, that society was divided with that guru system called the LJEP system, the Living Guru Experimental Project, where the various zones were divided up illegally and unfairly, and so many devotees were driven away. So it's a situation now where we don't have the missionary assets of the original ISKCON institution, but anybody can get a living room or an apartment or a house or anything and preach, hold programs, invite people, preach to friends, invite the various persons. And I believe that's my understanding, that the many devotees in Germany, they are preaching there, going on Sankirtan. So there's, Prabhupada would say, preaching and distributing books, making devotees. But again, in consideration, regardless of whether it might, that's why I read that letter from Srila Prabhupada to Gopi Janaba about big or small devotees. Even if there's a big or devotee or small devotee, that is not the point. Let me give you an example. In 1972, we had a program in Coimbatore, South India. One Indian gentleman arranged it. There were 10,000 people that came to hear us speak. A week later, he arranged another program where only 8 people came in a small dharamshala. So when we saw Prabhupada, we told him about that, and Prabhupada says, well, the problem with you too is you're too attached to the result. Says our only duty is to work for Krishna and leave the results for Krishna. Then Prabhupada said, but if you are very sincere, Krishna will personally make sure that you become successful. But don't worry whether there is many people come or little people that come. Then Prabhupada gave the example that his Guru Maharaj used to say, if nobody come, just sit in a room and preach to the wall. The wall will hear you. But usually the point is, if we preached, we present the philosophy, preach to friends and all kinds of people, then people will appreciate. They will hear, they will benefit. Just like I'm here in the mountains, I've got a neighbor. He's some kind of a Christian friend. I often work with him, chop wood and different things. I gave him a Bhagavad Gita, explained to him about Hare Krishna mantra. And just last week he was saying, yes, I heard about Krishna. He used to have a palace in Dwarka near the ocean. I said, yeah, that's really good. He used to have a palace. They had some archaeological survey. They found out about Krishna. He says, yeah, that must have been, he said, that must have been a big palace. I said, oh, yeah, it was. So we never know. By giving people the contact with Krishna, the contact with Srila Prabhupada, the contact with his books, there is immense benefit, tremendous benefit. So success, even though we may have limited success, if we present it properly, we leave it to Krishna, then we will have some success. That's my humble realization, or insignificant realization.
Any other questions, dear devotees?
One moment.
Yasodanandana Prabhu. This is
Yes.
Maitreya Prabhu. They just came today from the UK, him and Purijit Prabhu.
Okay,
We're
very good.
happy and thankful to have them here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Nice to meet you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Nice to meet you also, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. My obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for a nice talk. You mentioned distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, and obviously that's a very important aspect of Srila Prabhupada's mission. Just one problem that springs to my mind is that in all of the books, Srila Prabhupada talks about ISKCON, ISKCON, ISKCON. The name ISKCON is there very frequently, and that people should go to our ISKCON centers and so on. But we know also that the institution of ISKCON has deviated, as your class was addressing. So how can we circumnavigate this problem of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, but at the same time, distributing books and propagating an institution which we know is corrupted?
Well, you can invite them to your facility, to your temple. Because once they come to your facility, you'll be able to explain to them, to preach to them, and make friends with them, and explain the meaning of Krishna consciousness. And depending on their awareness of the historical situation, you'll be able to explain what happened. I mean, in the beginning, in 1966, 67, there were not many books. Devotees used to different little pamphlets. Who is crazy? The peace formula, on chanting the Mahamantra. We had little cards, and then they had the Ishopanishad was one of the first books that came in 1969. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya in 1968, the blue Bhagavad Gita 68, 69. It was not till 71, 72 that some portions of the first canto of Bhagavatam. So the preaching was basically done, invite people in a very friendly way, and then preach to them individually like that. I mean, I would not be worried about statements in Prabhupada books about ISKCON. What I would explain is that this is the real ISKCON, what we're preaching, because we are following Prabhupada's instruction without changing, without distortion, without manufacturing. We're trying to follow all these devotees, the Prabhupadanugas. We're trying to follow Prabhupada's instructions. We're not changing the teachings of Srila Prabhupada. So this is the real essence of ISKCON. And those who change the teachings, they're not connected. That's why we were reading all these texts from Srila Prabhupada, explaining how the disciplic succession is broken. Those people that change the teachings, distort the teachings, change the books, they're not connected to the disciplic succession. They may have control over some bricks and stones. They're not giving the original teachings. I hope it helps.
Thank you, Drew. Yeah, it's a little difficult because when people read the books, for example, if you run a temple, you have Srila Prabhupada on the altar, and Prabhupada is the authority for those who are preaching and for all the devotees. But when people come, Prabhupada, he says, go to ISKCON. And then it seems that you're saying, don't go to ISKCON. I think it's confusing for new people. The person who himself is, the guru, who these preachers are accepting as their guide, they seem to be speaking something contradictory. So that's kind of like a difficult thing to work against.
My experience in preaching about this, if you present them Prabhupada's teachings in a humble way, in a simple way, and emphasize the unique position of Srila Prabhupada, they will appreciate. They're sincere, they will appreciate. I think there's another devotee named Janas Priya from Hawaii. I believe he has his hands up. Let me see if we can. Janas Priya Prabhu, are you able to talk?
Yes, Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Prabhupada.
So nice to have you here, Prabhu. You're really the rain of mercy upon us. What I do personally, because this is a problem when it's not a problem, distributing Prabhupada's books is never a problem. The problem is that it says go to ISKCON. So what we're doing, we have printed a very small little pamphlet, not a pamphlet, but just a little piece of paper that you could staple to the book and just give a very simple explanation that we are the persons to go to if you want more information on this matter. And you could even explain perhaps that the society as at the present time might not be following strictly, so something to that accord. So we put that on every piece of literature.
Very good point. Maybe you should send me a copy of that. We can distribute it to other devotees as well.
Or we could make one professionally. We just,
Any other questions or comments or admonishments?
Thank you, Janas Priya Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Maitreya Prabhu, you finished with the question?
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Okay, Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thanks everybody for your allowing me to speak, and for anybody who'd like to make a Vyasa Puja offering, you can send it to my attention at Yasoda1008@yahoo.com. That's YASODA 1008@yahoo.com, or Venkat Bhatta Prabhu in Bangalore, and we will make sure that it is published. Or else you can go to our website, HareKrishnaSociety.org. Thank you so much, everybody, and thanks the organizers of this program, and my respectful obeisance to all the devotees who have participated and are promoting Srila Prabhupada and his pure teachings. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai.
Balara Prabhu,
Yes.
it was only 2 or 3 hours flight for you, huh? It was so
No,
fast
big-
on the TV here.
It was long. What are you talking about? Like 5 hours, 7 hours in total to get home.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, be careful when you go to that airport in Germany. It's full. It's like 1.5 hours to get through the line. So don't be late. I think it's changed. Less people, less money, less long queue for you. Okay. Somebody has to end it there. I can't end it from here.
I will do.
Okay. See you all tomorrow. Oh, just before we go, so let's say there's some vital information actually to tell about tomorrow. So tomorrow's program, which starts with there are 2 first very important classes given by Purajit Prabhu. And he's come all the way from the UK to give these classes and give us his association. So that's 8 a.m. tomorrow. The first class is going to be about Diksha Guru, which is a very important, very nice topic. And I hope we can be flexible enough to allow lots and lots of question time, because there is going to be lots of questions and discussions. And then the next class at 11 is going to be about Shiksha Guru. And I'm really happy that he has done these two in 2 different classes, because it's a big topic. And as I said, lots to discuss and even more to ask about. So Purajit Prabhu, if you are there on Maitreya Prabhu, if you can tell Purajit that do allow enough time for questions, because there is going to be a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you for announcing it. Just a quick correction. I sent one message, but I think it was not received. The class is actually Diksha Analyzed. Diksha Analyzed is not Diksha Guru strictly, it's Diksha Analyzed.
Yeah, well, that's actually the real topic. Yeah. yeah. Very nice topic. And we're glad that Purajit Prabhu is going to do this topic tomorrow. And look forward to hearing that.
Balaram Prabhu, due to the troll attack, our live streaming is basically down. So we record these classes on Facebook, and we will manually upload them to YouTube. But there's
that's perfect.
24-hour time ban on the streaming, so it won't work now till maybe 6 p.m. tomorrow. So that's the only way.
Nothing to do. What to do?
Yeah. Okay. Have a good night. Have a ball.
Okay. You too. Hare Krishna.